Hi. Why to change a car if it's not broken down? Why to change the process that is still working? I'm eager to share my experience of totally broken down the processes in the scope of API documentation, maintenance, and development, as well as how we got a new API reference look, and as a result, a better user experience. Those of you who hear the term API and don't work with it, you may be a little bit freaked out or at least get confused, but I won't be too technical in my talk. And my talk is for you to have that courage to experiment and actually try new things and make our documentation world a better place. So I invite you to do so from my experience. My story started a year ago. Oops. Yeah. When I joined a project, which is a huge financial machine. The whole project setup was done a long time ago and by someone else. But still, someone needed to create documentation for this API direction, right? So please meet my team. Our team consists of our leader, who introduced the right approach to using our tool, Metcalfe, as well as the review and publishing processes. Another person, another teammate is responsible for our tasks tracking, and me responsible for the API direction. The thing is that when I joined the project, that was the total change of the whole documentation team. And because there was one person already working in the project for 2 years, and both of us were like newcomers, right? So overall, there were 3 technical writers working on our 4 projects within our product. So our product consists mainly of payment services, and these can be utilized not only via user interface, but also imported via API part. But a tiny problem was that no one actually knew how to work with the API, and there was no one to approach to ask questions. So I needed to investigate a lot, watch endless meeting recordings, read a lot of articles, and get to know the product, get to know how to work with the API on my own. Overwhelming, I must admit. But thanks to my best leader and team ever, in baby steps, we made improvements. So 3 of us were like, oh, sorry, like this cat, a little bit confused with the mess that we had in our project, but playful enough not to run away, and even curious how to make sense of that mess. So we started cleaning things up, and sometimes even changed some things totally, completely. So the API challenges that we had. Once I was told, don't worry about the API part, no one reads it anyway. And I was like, what? Why? So that was the reason why I started investigating what those best API portals have that our online system lacks. So the challenges that we had, right? Oh, sorry. The thing was that people didn't want to read our documentation because our online help system was poorly structured. As a result, users just got lost there, and search didn't work properly. Also, the tool that I used to generate HTML files from JSON files, right, was outdated. It wasn't supported enough, and as a result, it took me really a lot of time just to generate those HTML files. Another thing was that I had issue with our huge API microservice that caused errors when being built and imported into our Flare tool. And we didn't have our we didn't have tried functionality in the live mode. So that is how it looked like before. I didn't like this tool. I had problems not only with, as I mentioned already, with generating the HTML files, but also when I created Postman collections. The thing is that for some reason, post methods didn't include response payloads, and I needed to insert these, wait for it, like manually. Can you imagine that? That's like, I don't know, that's like you're trying to like update your 300 pages Word document manually instead of applying macros. So, and as for me, that wasn't a pretty much smart approach to work, and I do believe that you will agree that all the work that is repetitive, annoying, and manual should be automated, if possible, of course, right? So after coming back to Postman collection, after I did this manual work once, that was enough for me. I approached our super developers, and they helped me to automate the process. So at the end, actually, now I just verify whether all the updates are there in the Swagger collection rather than updating it manually, this enormous collection, right? So I played around with various tools for generating HTML file because, you know, I like to experiment and improve things. And for me, personally, that was really important, judging on my investigation, that our new API portal has has tried functionality. Let me try. No. So it's that tried functionality in the live mode, right? I have a 3-pane style as normal, right? And those Swagger UI-like methods, indicators, colorful words there, you see. So, so that is what we have now. So after we improved the API reference documentation look, we had to make sense of our commit process. So to be honest, our commit process was bearable because we worked as developers do, right? So we just created a like merge request, we pushed, committed, created release branch, followed by being this release branch merged into master branch. So like sounds typical, right? Then you would ask why to improve the process. That is still working. Saving 20 minutes a day will pay you off in the long perspective. In my case, content could be overwritten, merge conflicts could occur, and I also needed to wait for other people to push to see the updates. So that was a little bit frustrating, I would say. So that is what we had before, and what was also important, we had like 4 repositories for our 4 projects. That was rather difficult and challenging, I would say. Now we have one repository for all our projects. We have one master project having all those common features that can be imported into our, like all 4 projects. And our tool supports branching. That is useful for release. Okay, after commit, we can discuss our review process. Regarding the API reference documentation review, I work with developers in their development environment. So that means they create a merge request, they link me to that merge request, and I just review the content together with other developers. So that is something like when you send a Word document to a few reviewers at once. Yes, regarding doc or PDF, please raise your hands who still is using or used Word or PDF to get review from your subject matter experts. Yes, so our team was in the same boat. But we were lucky enough just to change the process. In the past, like the process was similar as everyone did or does, right? So we created content description in Flare, we generated the Word document, then by using track changes, we indicated what subject matter expert had to review. Of course, we used email for our communication, and after we got the review, we just manually applied those changes back into Flare. And how it changed. So now we use Yatskiv Central for our review process. We just create description in Flare. Then we send a link to our subject matter expert. This link opens as an HTML file. The reviewer just apply their changes there, click the submit button, and that's it. We get the review back into our Flare. We either accept or reject changes, and we have our content in one place. So no manual work. You would ask, what's the catch here? Well, it's sooner. No painful docs like the Word documents or PDFs, and no worries whether you forgot to send something for review. After you've created your content and received the review from your subject matter experts, it's time to publish it. Since we've wrecked a lot of things on our project, the publishing process also needed to be updated. Previously, we created a new build like before every tech writer, the same as developers, right? The process is streamlined. So like we just merged, committed, pushed, and then we created a new build. We verified the publication on our QA site. And if everything was OK, we just sent this build ID to our DevOps engineers so that they could publish overnight. Later on, we needed to control whether the correct build had been published. And speaking about documentation-related changes, like we had 2 scenarios here. The first one, we needed to create a merge request by ourselves, apply all the changes, and then beg developers to take those changes, actually asking them to break that process, right? That didn't work often. Or another, like the second scenario was that actually we waited till the next release to apply our documentation-related changes. Now, guess what? We also improved the process. So we use Yatskiv Central for our publishing process. That means that the documentation team totally controls and owns the whole publishing process. We don't depend on other people, being that developers or DevOps engineers. We release with major software release, that's for sure. But speaking about documentation-related changes like typos or something like that, we can apply them actually overnight, just by creating a new build and making it live, you know? And yes, of course, we have our URL where we publish our output too. So luckily, you may think that luckily our team purchased a cool tool and that's it. But to be honest, the magic didn't happen overnight. That's the same thing as, for instance, if a person buys Ferrari, does it mean by default that this person can drive a car professionally? Still, you need to get used to this car. You need to understand how it works. And the car needs to fit into your garage. The same here. The tool needs to fit your needs, right? Like, it should be appropriate for your project and for your needs. I really advise you to explore those tiny features of your tool, and not to lose those small ones that can make your life easier, and can make your working routine less effortless, right? And the user's experience more lovable. So about when you should properly use your tool. Actually, we had the same situation with Flare when previously all changes were made via XML editor, but not text editor, you know? So that was, if you don't experiment, you will never know how to make your life easier. The whole different story is about publishing release notes. So previously, we published every major and minor release. That was, of course, time-consuming. Release notes, they didn't live in a centralized place, so they lived in the Word document, combined from pieces from here and there. And of course, then we needed to combine these pieces and release in a PDF version. So that was difficult. Now, we just release every major release. We just agreed with our developers and, team. And what is most important, that our release notes table of content resides now in Flare, meaning that the whole content is stored centralized. And as a result, it's easier to keep it up to date. Having said all that, I'm not sure whether I answered the question, why to improve the process. That is still working. But what I'm 100% sure, that we had mess on our project, and we got that mess organized. So what I wanted, my message to get across was that processes matter, communication is vital. Remember that situation that I didn't know how to automate the process, but I knew what I wanted, so I just approached my developers team and asked them for help, and that's okay. You can't know everything. Be stubborn and don't give up. Try to understand what you need and what you want to apply, and seek improvements for the sake of your peace of mind. Keep experimenting, because that's important. You will never know what you can find better, yes. Take your time. Don't expect changes happen overnight. And who knows, maybe that will be you standing here next time and answering the question, why to change the process that is still working. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Do we have any questions? Okay, there is one from Jacek in the middle of the room. There is one there on my left. And one in the front, and one here. I have a lot of questions. Yeah, go.
Hi, thanks for the great presentation. I wanted to ask you, how did the development teams respond to the changes in the process? Because, you know, as we all know, and we've probably experienced, developers are creatures of habit. And when a technical writer or a content designer comes along and says, hey, I want to flip the table, they're like, oh no, it's him again. So how did they react?
Yes, thank you for the question. The thing is that actually those changes, they didn't touch them a lot, because I'm still working with them in their development environment. So they still create this merge request, they link me to this merge request, I apply changes and things like that. Other thing was we just told them that you need to review, for instance, review process changed, right? Of course, we taught them that you will get an email, there will be an HTML link, you just click it, review the description, and click the submit button. But you know, developers are smart enough, so that wasn't very difficult for them. Yes, and regarding other processes, so in this situation with API reference documentation look, yes, I closely collaborated with one developer who, thanks to him, actually he helped me to apply those nice API looking features that we have now. But other than that, they are still happy enough just to they are even happier than they were before, because they don't get any Word documents or PDFs for review, and they don't care what I do, but they just do their job, and I just from time to time ask them, please review, and that's it, So more or less, that was my purpose, actually, not to interfere with the developers, because I do understand how it can be painful for them to change something. So. Sorry, I didn't hear.
So you didn't get an email with the question, where is my PDF?
No. No.
Okay, the question on the left.
I actually have a question. You mentioned the JSON files that you convert to HTML. So what format are those JSON files? Is it like following the OpenAPI specification, or?
Yes, we describe, we follow, our developers develop, and we follow when I describe Open API specification 2.0 and 3.0. And that was actually important for me when choosing those, new HTML generating tool, so that tool supports Open API specification. Yes.
Okay, so a follow-up. I'm interested in how actually you generate the Postman collections. Because we have an issue with importing OpenAPI into Postman, and we lose a lot of data. And right now we're trying to figure out how to make it work.
I do feel your pain, really. But the thing is that we generate Postman collection now automatically. That was another thing that our developers helped me with. So previously, I generated it from Postman, yes? So, you import the whole collection, right? And then you generate the Postman collection, usual thing. But now, together with API reference documentation, look, those documents and Postman collection, they are automatically generated. So I just insert the ready files into my Postman and just verify whether all updates are there.
Yeah, that's great. So we have to force our developers to do that.
Yes, really. I just
Thank you.
have just really cool developers team, so kudos to them.
Okay, another question?
Yes, hello, I'm Kasia. We had some chats before. Actually, you shared part of my life. We've been there, so I have one follow-up question and one comment at the end. Are you using Markdown files a bit?
No.
Not yet.
No, not.
So the next step, and I'm really encouraging you to not work, and this is follow-up for the first question, not work next to developers. Let's just use them and share everything what you are doing in one spot. And Markdown is giving you that chance, right? You can use Doge's code, which is my beloved philosophy, and you can also improve their lives, because you can even resign from any kind of review, any kind of post process. You can just be there at once with developers. So I'm encouraging you. You can have some chats with me and Przemek. We've been there, and this is really painful. But you have so much to do still.
Thank you. Yes, but I do understand that developers, they are such type of people. They don't like changes, and I do believe then we need somehow reshape and rethink the whole development process. And I'm not sure whether my project is ready for that. You know.
I lost my microphone.
Okay, we can talk during a coffee break. Thank you.
Okay, we had one more question here. I can give you my mic.
Hi, I'm Balint from Hungary again.
Hi.
You mentioned in the beginning that you changed the API reference guide to look a bit like Swagger, and it kind of begs the question, why not do it in a purpose-built tool like Swagger in the first place, or Theneo or Stoplight or something like this?
So the result that we have, that's actually elements from Spotlight. And yes, so that was what usual, let's say, brandy API portals have, right? Before that, we used a little bit outdated tool, and well, that was catastrophe. Another thing is, I do believe you know that so Swagger, I don't describe in Swagger UI. Still I have access to it, right? I can verify what they develop. So they develop in Swagger. But to generate those API reference documentation, I use elements, because I take my JSON files and then transform them into HTML files, right? And then import into Flat to have it published. Thank you.
Okay. There's a question two questions at the top.
Hi, thank you for a nice presentation. My name is Ilya, and I have a question. So you mentioned you working in Flare, so that raises the question, where does your content live? What's your source of truth? Something you have in Flare, or does the content live in the source code of your product?
Yes, thank you. So if we speak about, because our user, online help, has not only the API reference documentation, for sure, but we also have the user guides. So all the user guides and API reference documentation that is published, they live in Flare. But the input, the source, I take from JSON files. The JSON file is the part of build that our developers, create, yes? So if to speak about only user guides content, everything, and release notes, everything resides in Flare. Whereas those API reference documentation, they are generated from JSON files, right? Did I answer your question?
Hopefully more.
Hi, Anna, Mateusz here. I have a question about the development team you've been working with. So, in terms of timelines, how long did it take you to change this process so fundamentally, and how big was the development team? And I'm particularly interested in this because we're on the brink of doing kind of the same thing.
Thank you for your question. How long did it take me to change it? Almost, I guess, 6 months or 7 months, because it embraces the investigation part as well. About the developers, how many do we have? We have a lot of them. I'm working with few teams. To be honest, I guess approximately 30 or 40 developers. I guess, yes. Oh, that's not so bad if you as you think. That's manageable.
It was the jaw dropping, right?
Again, I don't interfere with the development process. I mean, I was trying to adopt how they work work in their environment. All the other things they don't care about, because that's my job.
Okay, do we have any more questions? No. Thank you, Anna. Yes? Okay, so one more question. Can we have a mic over here? Okay, the lady in the white stripy blouse.
Hey there, I'm Anastasia. Probably I missed it, but I just don't understand why you store content in Flare and not in GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket. I don't know what your developers use. And why do you have to generate a link for them to review? Because they can review content in what they use, GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket.
Thank you. So we use GitLab and no GitHub, but GitLab to review our merge requests. Actually, our developers, they work in Swagger, right? So they develop in Swagger. The thing is that our product has two parts. It has the UI part that is linked to our software. So the UI part should be described in Flare, because to have this help system button. Whereas API reference documentation is generated from JSON files. And that is where our Swagger UI and so JSON files, that's the source for API reference documentation. That is why we need to use Flare. Because I'm not sure whether GitHub or GitLab supports this software, linking, Do you understand what I mean?
Probably, but I do not know all the details, of course, of your project, so only you know. But
why we use Flare? Okay, another reason, because we had it, and our manager, leader, she likes it, and we like it, so it's bearable. When it comes to the API reference documentation, it's all on me, all troubles and troubleshooting, so I need to resolve these. Other things, they are happily working in Flare, so maybe that's another reason why we use Flare. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your questions. Thank you, Anna, for your awesome presentation.
Thank you.